During part 1 of this presentation, we will cover several characteristics of military culture, diversity in the military, and touch on a few of the AMCD multicultural counseling competencies that are met by understanding and learning more about military culture. The first cultural characteristic is language. Using different terms and language sets the military apart from civilian culture and helps to create identity and cohesion within active duty personnel. While there are similarities within military language, each branch also has their own set of terms and different language. An example of different terms that are important to know are service member titles. For instance, a service member in the Army is known as a soldier, in the Marine Corps, a Marine, in the Navy, a sailor, and in the Air Force, an airman. It could be offensive to call all service members and/or veterans soldiers, so ask what branch of the service they were or are still serving in. Also, it will be important to learn some of the more common terms, as this may help to create understanding and rapport in the counseling relationship. Symbols are another important part of military culture, and it helps to create identity. One very visible symbol is the uniform. Uniforms represent history, customs, rank, and accomplishments of those who wear them. Each branch has different uniforms, which creates a separate identity within the military. As you can see from the examples on the slide, each branch of the military has a set of dress blues, but they are different. The next cultural characteristic is shared attitude and values. When men and women join the military, they oftentimes have to shift from an individualistic culture to a more authoritarian collectivist culture. The I becomes we. They develop and share camaraderie within their units. They become mission-oriented, meaning the mission is greater than any one person, and they accept the violence and danger of the mission. There is also a rigid hierarchical chain of command where orders are followed and usually without question. While I will not read over this entire slide, it is important to know that each branch of the military has its own values, motto, and mission. Counselors should familiarize themselves with these in order to understand each active duty member or veteran they may serve. Not much has changed in military culture, but one thing that has changed is the active duty culture. In the past, the military has used conscript or the draft in order to fight intermittent wars such as World War I, World War II, the Korean War, and the Vietnam War. By the end of the Cold War in 1989, the military had become an all-volunteer service. Instead of civilian service members, there are now career service members. Because of this and the continuous wars we are in, active and reserve duty members are serving more tours than previously, and there is a large gap in the understanding of the experience of active duty and veterans. I will now talk briefly about diversity within the military. Joining the military can cause high levels of acculturative stress for individuals who are part of the majority culture. The levels of acculturative stress can be even greater for those who identify as part of a minority subculture. The two subcultures I will briefly touch on are sexual orientation and religion and spirituality within the military. until recently, lesbian, gay, and bisexual individuals were not allowed to serve openly in the military. They were dishonorably discharged if they were out or if someone outed them, and were not able to collect benefits from the VA. In 2000, the census was taken, and it was found that approximately 2.5% of active duty personnel identified as LGB members. But that number may be inaccurate due to people not being able to be out. In 2011, President Obama repealed the Don't Ask, Don't Tell law that was put into effect in 1993 by Bill Clinton. And the Don't Ask, Don't Tell law was to actually help LGBT members, but did not, in a sense. It stigmatized them more, and many people were discharged due to that law. But what's really neat now is since the repeal of Don't Ask, Don't Tell, members who were dishonorably discharged are now able to get that removed from their record and are able to seek benefits. And there are organizations out there that help veterans who have been dishonorably discharged for being gay to receive benefits. And then the other subculture is religion and spirituality, and the military also lacks support and diversity in this area. While it is improving, it still has room for more improvement. The largest groups are Catholic and Baptist, and no religious preference. And those groups seem to be supported fairly well. It's the smallest groups who struggle to feel supported in their religious practice. Some of the steps that are taken or have been taken is that commanding officers can approve or deny requests to members, active duty members, about things that they can wear or do for their religious practice, as long as it doesn't interfere with the uniform that is worn or the behavior that's expected. It's important for counselors to know about this culture due to the large gap in experience between civilians and active duty members and veterans. There's a lot of programs that offer, support and help for these members of this culture, and it's important for us to just know what their experiences are, and also always be curious. We're going to cover just 3 of the AMCD multicultural competencies that are met by understanding more and learning about this culture. The first one is 1B3, which states that culturally skilled counselors possess knowledge about their social impact upon others. They are knowledgeable about communication style differences, how their style may clash with or foster the counseling process with persons of color or others different from themselves based on the multicultural competency dimensions, and how to anticipate the impact it may have on others. And I think that just was touched on with the language and how we address active duty members and veterans. It's important for us to know that they do have different ways of speaking about certain situations than we're going to have, and it's important for us to get to know some of those terms in their language. The second one is 1C1, and that states that culturally skilled counselors seek out educational, consultative, and training experiences to improve their understanding and effectiveness in working with culturally different populations. Being able to recognize the limits of their competencies, they seek A, consultation, B, seek further training or education, C, refer out more qualified individuals or resources, or D, engage in a combination of these. And I think this is really important too, to understand, like, even if we learn and educate ourselves about the experiences of active duty members and veterans who have served in war, we're never going to fully understand their like decisions and the things that they had to do. And so just seeking out consultation, seeking out education and training, which the VA offers a lot of education and training in CEUs for people who work with active duty members and personnel, or in veterans, excuse me. And lastly, 2B1 states that culturally skilled counselors possess specific knowledge and information about the particular group with which they are working. They are aware of the life experiences, cultural heritage, and historical background of their culturally different clients. This particular competency is strongly linked to the minority identity development models available in the literature. And I think just understanding like the piece of diversity in the military. So the military is its own separate culture, and people bring in their cultures to the military, and understanding that their life experience is going to shape experiences that another veteran or active duty member may have, a different experience of. So just understanding that, like, because we have done trainings or we have, talked with people about the experience of military veterans and active duty personnel doesn't mean that it's going to be the same for everyone. Thank you for watching this presentation, and I hope that you have learned a little bit more about military culture and how we can be culturally competent counselors with this population.